Hey ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is of course your broadcaster, HD StarCraft, and I'm here to bring you guys another Heart of the Swarm broadcast. And today we'll be looking at another game with the red Zerg player, Kaldi. He's going to be in the bottom left-hand corner of, I don't even know what map this is. Haven't played on the ladder recently, so I cannot tell you guys for sure, but this is one of the newer maps added into the pool here. And I will take a quick tour of that after we introduce the red Protoss player. His name is Kami, so I am actually going to bring up the scoreboard here because that is going to make it much easier for me to cast, and I think for you guys to easily follow along, because sometimes when players are playing a mirror matchup or their names are very similar, it can be a little confusing, you know, just a little hard. So anyways, this is going to be the map. It's interesting. We have a natural expansion down here leading to a ramp down below. Looking around here, we have, I've actually casted a game on this map before. I forgot which game I did, but we do have like the collapsible rock towers, which lead into an expansion that is further covered by rocks. Never have I seen a long-term game on this map yet, I don't think, because we have expansions all the way up here as well that can be taken by the players, and I don't think I've seen that yet. There's also a Xel'Naga tower up here, which will probably never be used, and a Xel'Naga tower in the middle of the map, which will probably be taken quite a bit. So, after the quick little tour there, obviously it is a symmetrical map. We'll see what happens in this matchup. It is a Zerg versus Protoss one more time here for Kaldi, as he goes down to the natural expansion and plops down a hatchery, actually before spawning pool. Wow. That is very interesting, and usually you don't see Zerg players do a hatchery first. Why? Because if you go hatchery first and the Protoss just so happens to throw down a forge in preparation of going forge fast expand, your hatchery is absolutely boned. It is screwed in the worst way possible. So Kami here hasn't sent out a scouting probe, and he actually opened up with a Naniwa style opening, meaning he's not going to have a forge. He's not even going to see this hatch first. And I think Kaldi has smartly said, well, this is such a big map. Most Protoss will go get, most Protoss will may not even scout, or maybe he was just taking a risk, but for whatever reason here, Kaldi's natural hatchery is not going to be sniffed out, and in fact, he even sent a drone down here. He was like, well, I gotta check to make sure there's no probes going around here building pylons and cannons, and he sent a drone down there to check, and he didn't see anything, and now his Overlord is like, I see a gateway and a cybernetics core coming, no forge. So actually, Kaldi kind of gets away here with a little bit of a little bonus, I guess. This is a very nice opening for Kaldi, sorry, red Zerg player, and we will see how the blue Protoss player gets along here. Now, I know you guys got to remember, he has not scouted at all, man. It's completely in the dark right now. We have no idea what's going on for the blue Protoss player. For all he knows, Kaldi could be coming in with special Christmas gifts anytime soon here. After all, it is the holiday season, and by Christmas gifts I mean Zerglings in your base. So yeah, the blue Protoss has no idea what's happening. He is completely in the dark right now. And Kaldi, the red Zerg player, is just playing this game as standard as can be, man. He is actually does have one gas mining up one drone at a time, but he's already started the research on the spawning pool build. That is, of course, the speed. Now, is he going to go ahead and be aggressive with these Zerglings? I'm not entirely sure. I think he might just be getting the speed upgrade just so he can have map control on the map, and then maybe make a transition over into the layer pretty soon here. But we'll keep our eye on the Zerg production tab, because if he decides to throw down a Roach Warren, then he might actually try to bust through the front. I don't think that's a good idea though, because you know, when a Protoss goes gateway into expand, usually they're gonna have forces, unlike something like a Nexus First or Forge Fast expand. So I don't think Kaldi is really gonna be too successful, but he is gonna have Zergling speed at the least. And that Zealot is trying to survive for ire, he says. Will he be able to do it? He's trying to chop down these Zerglings one at a time, excuse me, but there's just not enough side blades here. Even though Zealots have one on each hand, I guess they got to be equipped with Darth Maul's bow staff to really be effective when it comes to dealing with those Zerglings. Could you imagine a Zealot with a bow staff lightsaber? He would just be like twirling around, taking out units left and right. Whirlwind ability, they would call it. That's going to be in Legacy of the Void, I bet you. I'll put my money down on it. Alright, so Kami here has the Nexus down, and he is going to be adding on a couple more gateways. He's also locked down the crevice with sentries. Not a Zealot, but of course sentries can expend a force field to make sure units don't come through. We do have a Stargate here. I didn't notice this, but he does have Phoenix coming out, the Protoss player Kami. And very similar to what the Red Zerg dealt with last game against Barcode. This time he is going to get an early scout in there, and he's going to see, okay, you got a Stargate, you got Phoenix, so we'd expect him to go ahead and add in a couple of Spore Crawlers, if possible, to try to keep his bases up and running. And right now he's just now starting the layer. No Evolution Chamber yet. Might just be hoping to deal with these Phoenix base solely on his queens, but he's only got 2 queens. I don't know, man. I always feel like when I watch, so far what I've seen with Kaldi playing, it is a little risky that he doesn't add spores right away. There we go. 3 spores now being added on, 1 for each base presumably, and that should provide him enough air defense here to protect against these Phoenix. As now there are 4 Phoenix flying around the map. I do believe a couple of Overlords have gone down, but like I said, that's nothing that the Zerg cannot recover from. In fact, right now he's got plenty more than enough supply cap, 60 over 78. The Phoenix even say, screw it, we don't want Overlords, we want drones. But the Spore Crawler is up. In fact, there are 2 in the main base, and these Phoenixes have got to get out of there. Every Spore impact there doing 20 damage a shot, and that's pretty painful because the actually it only does 15 damage a shot. Okay, but the firing rate of the Spore Crawler is just absolutely crazy. A couple of drones here did go down, actually. 3 drones in total, so the Phoenixes have been able to go in there and do a little bit of damage, but 1 Phoenix is going to go down. Will Kami be able to elevate a drone here? Yep. And he picks off 1 more, and so far he's been able to kill off a handful of drones, but I've got to say, so far, nothing too serious. It hasn't really justified the cost of going to Phoenix yet. But the Phoenix are still alive. They can still be mixed into the army on the ground, as Kami is pushing out here with Stalkers and Sentries, and back at home he's adding on a robotics facility, presumably to get an Immortal out and maybe even go to Colossus. But this is a scary army coming through the middle of the map right now. Drones and Roaches going to the top to try to defend this hatchery because it is going to fall under attack very soon. And will the Zerg be able to hold off? He's going to go for Hydras once again, like we saw in the last game. But the Hydralisk Den is not close to being done yet. 1 Stalker is going to get picked off here. The Sentry's in retreat, dropping down those force fields, making it hard for the Roaches to give pursuit. It looks like Kami is in full-on retreat right now because, you know, Roaches are pretty damn good against gateway units. And it looks like the Zealots here saying, we sacrifice ourselves for you 2 Sentries. Make it home for us. And the Phoenix might actually have to use Graviton to help save the Sentries here. And you guys might be thinking, well, why would you ever save Sentries? They are just a little puny, pathetic unit. But no, that's not the case at all. They're actually so gas intensive. They're 100 gas apiece. In the early game, when you bring out your Sentries like that, you better do a lot of damage and you better not lose them. And so right now, so far, Kami able to save 1 Sentry out of the rest of his army. So that went pretty well there for the Zerg player. You can note that this map is so big and so vast, it just takes forever for the Roaches, even with speed, to traverse the terrain here. And now the Phoenixes, they're given a little bit of an aerial escort here, but every time they get enough energy to use a Graviton Beam, 1 Roach ends up dying, so that's pretty funny. But back at home, what do we have Kami going for? He does have a second Forge here, unlike Barcode, and he is going to go for Colossus. Rocks here getting taken down here from Kaldi, so he can help defend this base in case of a ground assault from the Protoss player. But I think similar style here from Kaldi. He's trying to go Roach Hydra again, and that's totally fine, man. In Heart of the Storm, you get Roaches and Hydras and you bring out some Vipers. It is so hard for Protoss to deal with that. I think that was the one unit that Roach Hydra needed to be effective against Protoss in general. You know, in Wings of Liberty, it was not a very good style, but now that you've got the ability to Binding Cloud and Abduct, it becomes so much better. Kind of how Zergling Ultra was pretty terrible without Defilers and their Dark Swarms. So we'll see what happens here, but there is +1/+1 about to finish up for the Protoss player. He needs that, of course. Zerg is about to finish +1/+1 as well, so both players are actually pretty close in the upgrade department here. And Colossus are starting to make their way out on the field as Kami goes for a 3rd base. So that is 3 bases to 4 bases. And this game is very, very close. I can't really call it one way or another right now. Maybe it's just going to go all the way to the macro game into 4 or 5 or 6 bases here, because it looks like Kaldi wants to go ahead and take out another set of rocks here so he can clear up potential hatchery. As an Overseer comes in, and that Overseer is like, blah, pooping out a changeling as well, and that changeling will make sure it sees all that can be seen if the Overseer should die. Oh, maybe not actually. Wow, the guts and gore are getting exploded away courtesy of Blizzard's new death animation. There is a Mothership Core on the field as well from Kami, and that's nice because if you get caught with a lot of binding clouds, I guess, then you don't need to slowly walk out of the clouds while taking damage. You can just press a button and then whoop, everything just gets retreated out. So if Kami decides to use some Mothership Core in that fashion, that'd be cool. I think he could also try to go for a real, actual, live, full-on, 100% grade A Mothership too. I don't know what it is about Protoss players now. It's like, well, I've got a Mothership Core on the field, but I don't want to make a Mothership, and it's like they only make Mothership when they're dealing with Broodlord and Fester. But why? You've already got a Mothership Core out there. Make a Mothership. It's still really good, even if it was only used against Zerg in Wings of Liberty. You know, since it's a prereq now basically to have on the field, you might as well make a Mothership. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I think it could be very helpful here for the Protoss player. Roaches and Hydras chilling out at the Zonaga Tower. They don't like their peace being disturbed there, because for whatever reason they just don't. And Kami is out of there, but he is making a Mothership. Oh my goodness, there it is. It's morphing in all of her majestic power. So a Mothership is on the way, but Vipers are on the way too. Actually, that might be one of the reasons why Mothership isn't so hot, because let's face it, a Viper coming in there can abduct the Mothership, and then it's like, well, there goes my very expensive piece of machinery. Because Hydras, once they're in range of the Mothership, they have no mercy, man. It's almost like the AI auto-targets it down. Of course, it has like the highest priority of all in the game, and the AI does take into account the priority of units here. If for example, before when SCVs were repairing a building, the units didn't have a very high priority, and SCVs could not be shut off. Now when SCVs are repairing a building, they get the same priority as the building they're repairing or the unit they're repairing. So just kind of going into the details here, the nitty-gritty of StarCraft 2, but everything is important as these Zealots, they're trying to figure out what to do with their lives, and it looks like they are going to go ahead and attack some rocks. So those rocks are going to presumably get taken down, although Kaldi has creep vision here, so he'll be able to push those Zealots away. You'll note also we have Tempest being added in from the Protoss army, and that is not a bad idea because the Tempest can protect the Mothership from the Vipers. They can long range take down the Vipers before the Vipers get in range. On top of that, if the Zerg decides to go Broodlord Infestor, or just Broodlords in general, Vipers are so good against, Tempests are so good against Broodlords because they do extra damage against Massive. They just are the perfect counter to Broodlords, and that is why Protoss, such as Whitera, have been making so many Tempests nowadays, and it's just a good unit, period. We do have a lot of Vipers in the field here. Roaches and Hydras and Vipers here from Kaldi. Taking a look at the upgrades here, it is 2-2 to 2-2, or 2-1, excuse me, for the Zerg. So the Zerg just a little bit behind, but he's about to finish 2 armor. He is moving in with an army right now, while the Protoss is moving in with a Warp Prism, has unloaded some Zealots into the main base, and is going to look to unload over here as well. Just taking a look at the APM here, because it is sure to spike up, as there is a lot of things going on. The Vipers going in here, and they are going to be able to yank the Mothership in, but the Mothership, whoa, drops the Vortex. It's like playing whack-a-mole right now as it gets yanked in. The Vortex comes out, and oh my god, the Mothership just, as bait, pulled the rest of the Vipers and the units into the Vortex. So everything here is waiting to get annihilated. Although, does Kami actually have enough forces? He didn't have any Archons. And a Binding Cloud comes down, but that also affects the Roaches and Hydras underneath. Although I guess it hurts this Protoss a lot more because Protoss depend on range, but it looks like Kami will be able to take the victory there as he is able to take out a hatchery as well with that Warp Prism. The Warp Prism is still alive, unloading more Zealots here, and Kaldi has to rely on his reinforcements to help defend. He's already lost 1 hatchery. He cannot afford to lose the main base. Thankfully, he's got a Crawler here and a couple of Roaches. And more Roaches and Hydras coming out. Good grief, that's a lot of Roaches and Hydras. And will that Warp Prism actually be able to make it out of harm's way? It's flying over very dangerous airspace right now. Whoa! Viper's killing off an Extractor. You don't really want to do that. And that is where I would say, hey man, just make a lot of Evolution Chambers. Kind of like how my cousin Pho does it. He makes a lot of Evo Chambers and then he sucks the Evo Chambers down, because honestly, what other building makes sense but the Evo Chambers? So It looks like he ends up killing an extractor. That's going to hurt his gas income rate. I think the Warp Prism just went down there. I don't know. Must have been to this Spore Crawler or something, because I heard the Warp Prism die, supposedly. And now the Protoss army now chilling in the middle of the map at that Xel'Naga Tower, which I mentioned at the beginning of this cast would be a very important Xel'Naga Tower to hold. Carriers also coming in as well. Vipers and Hydras and Roaches all coming from all directions. That Mothership Core is out of there, and it will not be able to drop down a Vortex. Excuse me, the Mothership, not the Mothership Core. Templar Storm getting dropped down. As a Binding Cloud just spells left and right. It's hard to keep track of everything while I'm casting, but there you have it. As the Protoss now is in full retreat, that Tempest will be able to make it back home under cover of the Stalkers. Meanwhile, a Zealot army going to the top left-hand corner of the map, trying to do a little bit of damage here. It's just a skirmish battle left and right. Looks like one Nexus is going to get taken down, so Kaldi will get revenge for the hatchery he lost. Great Binding Cloud position as well, because if the Stalkers try to come in and save the Nexus, guess what? They're under the umbrella of the Binding Cloud, and under Binding Cloud, you cannot attack unless you're in melee range. It's such a devastating spell to be under. The Zealots have broken through the rocks, and this hatchery now is going to fall under attack, but there are 3 Spine Crawlers here. Will it be enough to defend, along with reinforcements? Carriers comes in, but Carrier goes out, and oh my god, that is the power of the Viper. Tempest, nobody, no mercy here for the Viper or for the Protoss army, because the Viper just yanks everything with absolute impunity. And GG calls Kami. That was incredible. That was awesome, and a very, very good play by Kaldi. Lots of left and right battling, lots of action, great use of the new spellcasters here from both sides, really. And I feel like Kaldi now, in the last 2 games that I've casted of him, has made incredible comebacks, because you would have thought, oh man, that was a terrible battle for him. He just lost everything. He had to pull back and retreat. He just lost a hatchery too. Oh, this game's over. He's done for. There's no reason even to cast this game. End the video now, HD. But then he comes back and it's like, boom, what's up? And he wins. So I don't know what's going on right now. Completely mind equals blown. So I hope you guys enjoyed the cast. If you did, check me out on my YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, blah, 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 at HD StarCrafty. I'll see you guys in the next cast. Have a